Hello, eating PCs and inquirers. Hello, everybody. Haven't done YouTube lives in a really long time. I just for some reason did today. So I've had some questions lately around where to begin. Where did we start if we have some kind of compulsive behavior that seems to be very persistent? And in the case of many of us, food and eating, that was my favorite. So if I'm kind of rushing towards the food or moving towards it, like, what do I do first? How do I stop? Like, help me. What's happening? I think number one, we need to calm down. What will help you kind of calm down? So we know that this is a whole different topic, really, but will and suppression and avoidance and making sure that you never get to this phase where you have a craving, where you're rushing forward into the craving. That's what the mind has done a lot, is think about all those kinds of approaches and kind of what needs to happen to prevent this moment, or to tackle this moment, to fight this moment, defend against it. And instead, if you really brought immense compassion to the experience of craving and moving and wanting and rushing forward, kind of dropping into something, falling into a whirlpool of doing the thing that you do, in this case, eating. Notice the restlessness, restless, uncomfortable, got to get out of this moment. Let me stop this craving. So let's just calm down. Let's just find a little calm, a little sense of, like, you know what contentment is like when you're just sitting with the silent, empty moment, but you feel completely content. Nothing needs to happen. Nothing needs to be added. Nowhere to go. Nothing to do. That kind of a sense of feeling. And we want to have just a little more of that. Even being able to access that in any way. So I was speaking to somebody today who has been sort of in a holding pattern around not taking, some sort of action, just watching herself feel a bit hopeless and apathetic and not really wanting to change or move, and also wanting to at the same time around her eating. And we looked at what she thought was required to get to this place of more balanced eating, of eating peace. And it looked like a pretty big project, a pretty big, upward mountain climb. And she was really looking at down the road, and then the things that would help her get there were pretty daunting. Even some prep stuff to get ready to do this thing that she was going to do was going to take like 2 weeks. And there was just a stirred up kind of restless energy and this malaise happening at the same time, of not wanting to feel deprived or to suffer. So what if, well, I'll just share three things, and I have a whole bucket full of more, but these are three of my favorites for simply calming down. And it might seem like it is the smallest little thing like that. What's that going to do for eating compulsion? And don't even worry about that. In some ways, that's okay that the mind is thinking that. So 3 things. Number 1, grab your three first fingers of your left hand with your right hand, or your dominant hand. So just hold. Just notice that actually feels comforting, comfortable. So I'm taking these 3 fingers and I'm just holding them. The way that feels comfortable is just doing it like this. Squeeze. What if you just did that for a few moments? And a few moments is actually a really long time. So what if you did it for a few seconds? Just notice that the squeeze and the firmness feels really stabilizing, sort of calming. They say babies are crying. Babies like to be swaddled tightly in a bundle. Maybe there's some part of us that is, being like a baby in those moments. I want, this isn't enough. I'm nervous. I'm anxious. Okay. The second thing is to just simply take 3 very deep breaths. Now, some people, it works better if they breathe in for like the count of 10 and breathe out for the count of 9, something like that, that they can actually track. Some, it's just breathe in for the count of 7 and then out slowly. Some people don't want to count at all. It is known, though, that a deep breath is the number one best way to calm the nervous system. A deep breath. It brings in oxygen through the whole body. Physiologically, you're calmed down. So 3 deep breaths when you're in the midst of some kind of craving, impulse, just something that wants to reach, move, go, get it. And the last one is my very favorite. It's actually shaking the whole body. Now, you might not be able to do this in public, but most of the cravings we have are done in private. We're at home alone. It's very interesting that we're just, quietly alone with ourselves in a space of where there might not be a big bunch of to-dos. Maybe there's a list, but our time is unscheduled. Often it happens at night, at home alone, just off hours when we're not at work. And you just slightly shake your whole body. So you'd be standing, which I'm not doing right now. I'm sitting in my chair, but you just let your ankles bounce up just a little bit so that you're not losing your balance. You just shake. You just stand and shake. I knew somebody who knows about the shaking, and she would go to a meditation center of some kind in Indonesia, and that is the way they meditated there. They would, shaking meditation. I thought, hey, you're kidding. That's amazing. So notice that there's something about actually, engaging in that sort of busy energy in the body, and that it has like this sort of bouncing thing to do. Like, why do kids love to go on a trampoline? And some of us do too. Small trampolines or something, just something that sort of shakes you, and you're doing something with that extra kind of restless, moving energy. That's sort of, ungraded kind of restless feeling that often moves us into grabbing, getting, busy, graze eating, kind of not having any time when you don't have food that you're wanting or wanting to put something in your mouth. So it helps to just relax, and you can just do that for as long as feels good. Do it for 5 minutes. And we don't call it failure if something happens after that period of time. We're not like sort of gripping with our hands tightly held. We're just noticing I'm kind of going with a flow of restless energy. I'm almost in a way just following or expressing it, allowing it to express through the body, and watching the wave of movement always kind of crashes at some point and moves through, just moves through us. It doesn't stay 10 out of 10 high energy craving. Often the mind will be saying that the only thing that will settle you down is to get or acquire the thing that is wanted. Get the alcohol, get the sugar, start scrolling, watch that thing. That's the only thing that's going to end the craving, is to meet the craving with the thing that is wanted. And that is not true. Who would you be without that story? Who would you be without that story? What are you without that thought? Do you have to believe everything that you think? What are you without that thought? Like this energy pattern that blows through. Turned around to the opposite. I do not need to meet that craving with the thing. That's not the only thing that'll stop the craving. The craving will stop all on its own. It'll run down just like a bicycle or a ball that's running down a hill, and at the bottom there'll be a bottom, and it will slowly come to rest all by itself without you getting involved. It will pass. It's amazing to feel a craving pass. I wish it for everybody that feels like they suffer from compulsion, to test it out and see and get the experience of noticing that the wind is blowing and then it isn't. And you don't need to do anywhere near as much as you think you need to do to control that pattern. Who would you be without the story? All right. Let me know how it goes.